My husband has an erectile dysfunction problem that he doesn't want to get clinically checked.
And you're really going to rule out if it's medical or if it's mental.
Sex is not all about the penis. It's not all about penetration.
Society has not highlighted that sex is an evolving conversation.
Welcome to Cheaper Than Therapy. My name's Brooke Oden, and in case you can't afford a therapist of your own, we're here to help. Today we're going to be chatting through an anonymous reader question on erectile dysfunction in relationships. So we're going to be bringing on sex, family, and marriage therapist Jennifer Smith, who's going to give us the details on it all.
Hey Jen, thank you so much for being on Cheaper Than Therapy.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here. I'm really excited.
Okay, so let's dive in to our reader question of the day. Dear Brooke, my husband has an erectile dysfunction problem that he doesn't want to get clinically checked, and he's not interested in sex. We've had sex 4 to 5 times unsatisfactorily over 3 years. There's no emotion, no connection, no conversation. What are your initial thoughts hearing that?
That makes me really sad for them. Sounds like the wife really wants to connect with her husband and really wants to be able to figure things out so that they can be intimate, just like emotionally, mentally, and verbally. So my heart goes out to her because sounds like she's trying. But it's not uncommon that men are just not ready to get checked yet. It's a big insecurity of, if I go and the doctor tells me something I don't want to hear, or it's something irreversible, then what? Right? It's almost like the fear of the unknown.
Definitely. And I think it's such a common issue that still has so much stigma around it. But I can't tell you how many friends have come to me and said, I was with a partner and, they got performance anxiety, or male friends being like, I've wanted to be with that person for so long, and we finally got to that point to have penetrative sex and have that intimacy. I just, my equipment wouldn't work. What do you think the first step is to getting over that fear and maybe those emotional ties that would make somebody scared?
Yeah, I think one of my first things I would encourage this couple to do is try to really have a conversation of how it's really stunting their relationship. But also about how they can support each other no matter what the outcome or information might be that they'll receive. So I really encourage them to have a real honest conversation about it. And then second step is going to the urologist or even to your PCP to discuss what's been happening and having really thorough information that they can provide to the provider of how long this has been going on. And then also the partner should go with that person. In this case, the wife would go with her husband to support him throughout this entire process from beginning to end. I think that's really important. A lot of times men go to the urologist by themselves, and that can seem very unsupportive. They, like if you're receiving some type of news that's not the best news, you really kind of want someone in there in the room with you. So I do encourage her to go with him to the urologist, and you're really going to rule out if it's medical or if it's mental. And then if it's not medical, or even if it is medical, he can still go and see a sex therapist afterwards to discuss what's been happening, not only just for him as an individual, but what also is happening in the relationship sexually and emotionally, so that they can at least get that back on track before the sexual relationship.
Definitely. And I think that's so important. What a great thing to touch on too, going with your partner and giving that support too, because, sex happens with multiple people. So, or yourself sometimes, but in this case, multiple people are involved. So multiple people should be a part of that solution. Yeah. But what really concerned me about this question was the no emotional connection and the no conversation too. And so I'm wondering, do you think that's what's breeding this lack of connection and lack of conversation? Or do you think that's a whole nother issue from our limited knowledge that we have?
Yeah, I was going to say, it could be a whole bunch of things. It definitely could carry into that. I've seen that a lot with male patients when, they're not able to sexually perform. It does affect their emotional and even verbal correspondence with the partner, because sex is so important for men. And it also kind of takes a ding to their ego if they can't provide that or please their partner. It just affects a lot of other areas. So it might be something completely separate. So I really do encourage this couple to seek out a therapist, or, a regular couples therapist or sex therapist, to try to get the at least verbal and emotional connection back, even before they start doing the physical connection.
I personally am not married, but I've heard a lot of dead relationships in the bedroom or sexist relationships. So is this kind of what this would be classified as? And, how often do you see situations like this?
Yeah, I definitely would classify this as like a sexless relationship. I would say probably before the pandemic, I saw more of it. Since the pandemic, everybody's worked on really trying to spice things up or find different ways to be sexually pleased. But yeah, there are people. I find that people have been married for a long time or have multiple kids. It is harder for them to actually prioritize sex in the relationship. And then you very much become just married roommates, essentially, is what I call them. And so it's unfortunate, but I'm glad like we have a space here where we can bring this up and have these conversations, because I think that these are conversations you should have as friends, or with other couples to talk about it, so that one, that it's okay to still want to have sex with your partner, or it's, asking like, hey, like, are you guys making it a priority, or can we babysit for you guys if you want to go on a date night? I think very much of when you go to a wedding, a lot of times, whoever's leading the service will ask, like, do you all support this relationship? And, will you be supportive of them? And I take that seriously. So as a friend, I still think when you all are going through the course of your marriage, I should check in and ask you like, hey, like, how are you guys doing? Is there anything I can do to help support you? And, again, like volunteering to babysit for somebody so they can have sex or have a date night most couples are thrilled.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that take on marriage, but that is so right. You do sit there, you say you're going to support, you go to this wedding, you see a beautiful union between two people. And then, marriage takes work. Any relationship takes work, especially longer term. You don't have that fun. This is new sex. This is sex that we do the same 3 positions every time until completion. Like, it does change over the course of time.
It does. Your body changes, your desires change. But I think society has not highlighted that sex is an evolving conversation. And it should be for every relationship, whether you're single or married. Like, you should be able to talk to your partner about how things have changed. And it's like, hey, I know I used to like that position, but actually I like this position now. It feels much better for me, as your body changes and your libido changes, you have to talk to your partner about those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. And, kind of going into cheap advice and wrapping up, what this person should do. What are their next steps, and what should they do if their partner just doesn't want to get checked? And at this point, they're not open to having that conversation.
If the partner decides he does not want to do anything about it, then I do suggest that at least the wife go and see her own therapist to kind of talk some of this out, because if he's not there verbally or emotionally right now, she's kind of stuck. And so she might need someone non-biased to talk things out with, to then find out if she needs to make a decision for herself about the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I think definitely always try to work things through, and that plan is spot on, finding professional help, seeing if you make it through. But at the end of the day, it does come to her decision and her happiness as a person too. So
absolutely.
At that point, it would be an opportunity to perhaps leave the relationship and look for something more compatible.
It could be, but it depends, where she is. I think, if this was just the sex piece, I think it would be, I could give some different advice, but because she's not having any of her needs met in the relationship, that definitely says a lot. And you really do have to be thinking about your own needs and well-being in the relationship. So, but I think talking it out with a therapist could be really helpful, and then just formulating a plan, and really giving a chance for her to think about what's my next steps.
Definitely. And one thing I want to kind of circle back to, since you are our resident sex geek for the day, sex is not all about the penis. It's not all about penetration.
No.
So even if somebody's equipment isn't, ticking up, let's say, there's so many different ways to have sex. And for you, how do you start those conversations? And, what could a possible alternative look like?
Women are we get turned on mentally. So we're like, if you can stimulate us mentally, like we're there physically. And when I was thinking about this woman, I'm like, she's not getting any of that stimulation. So even if the equipment was working, she's still not going to be fully aroused because she's not being stimulated mentally, right? Or even emotionally. So I do I do believe there's lots of other ways to please your partner, but just having conversation about what pleases them is one of the most important things. Don't assume that what you did with somebody else is going to work for your current partner. It's good to just have check-in conversations, the initial conversation, so that you have a real clear roadmap of what to do. Obviously, if you are having some type of erectile dysfunction, you can use oral on your partner. There are a gazillion toys in the world that you can try, and maybe even adding some new toys if you already have some. It's like, all right, let's try something different. And I always love when couples can go to the adult store or look online to like shop for new toys together, because then it opens up a conversation of, I like this and I don't think I would try that, but would you be willing? It opens up the conversation of how you all can add variety into your sex life.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time and giving this incredible advice. I hope it is super helpful to our reader and that, they get the satisfaction that they're looking for.
Me too.
And now if you want, tell the people, where can they find you? If they want you for services, what are you up to?
So if you are in the Virginia area, you can reach out to me for sessions. If you like to book a workshop or just even a one-on-one consultation about toys or orgasms or masturbation, things like that, you can still reach out to me at sextherapistjen at gmail.com or at psychyourmind.com. You can also follow me at Sex Therapist Jen on Instagram, where I answer a lot of questions. I do sex toy reviews and post a lot of content.
This was Cheaper Than Therapy with guest Jennifer Smith. Make sure to stay tuned for more episodes on love, sex, and relationships. And in the meantime, fill out your own anonymous user question with the link down below. For Narcity, I'm Brooke Oden.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our Narcity channel to see more content just like this.